difficult to follow exactly where this car is. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on?
Well, Ilona, we're trying to find the vehicle here. Obviously, there's a lot of trees. There goes the suspect vehicle right there. He's driving erratically through a neighborhood here near Rampart, Renwick area. Okay, he's now southbound. It's a blue Chevy Blazer. To the best of my knowledge, there may be 2 suspects in the vehicle. This chase has been going on for, okay, apparently it's a Ford Blazer. It's been going on for about 10 minutes, possibly. All through the southwest area. He's running a stop sign now, taking a right turn. We're going to zoom in here and see if we can get a shot of the people in the vehicle.
Well, it looks like you got at least 1 passenger in there, Dave.
Yes, 1 passenger. We don't know if there are other people in the back of the vehicle.
Yeah, and relatively high speeds for a surface street. What have you been seeing over the past few minutes?
I'm sorry, Ilona?
Well, we're seeing relatively high speeds and some weaving in and out of traffic on surface streets and areas with pretty low speed limits. What have you been seeing out of this driver over the past few minutes?
Well, right now we haven't been able to, I mean, the driver's definitely driving erratically, no doubt, certainly through some of the side streets here. We've been doing what we can to catch up with them. They are traveling at probably...
Oh, and we've lost Dave Garrett from Sky, and I was going to say it looked as though he was going down Bel Air Boulevard. There, we pick you up your signal again, Dave. It looks like he's going down Bel Air Boulevard, as you say, at a high rate of speed. I don't even see any police cruisers behind him, although that may have been one he just passed, now into the right lane. Any idea how this chase got started, Dave? Was it a traffic stop and he just took off?
We don't have that information right now. I don't know if he's turning... Okay, he's turning east. I'm not sure what road we're on right now. He's continuing on eastbound.
He's on Gulfton, is what we've been told.
Okay, on Gulfton.
So if he was turning east, and I'm assuming it was off of Bel Air Boulevard, it looked like that, at least to me. He's going northbound, then if he was turning, or excuse me, he's going eastbound on Gulfton, coming off of the boulevard. Well, that wouldn't have been Bel Air. It might have been another one. It might have been Chimney Rock, perhaps.
Our signal in and out just a little bit in this area, but obviously, as Dave said, this is somebody driving very erratically, crossing center lanes as soon as they get into some heavier traffic. We just saw an intersection there with cars stacked up, and actually it looks like it's now going through a parking lot and then back out onto wrong sides of traffic, and it might have a flat tire as well.
Yeah, it might be.
Hard to tell whether or not they've got a flat tire. You saw him cut through that parking lot right there. We're trying to figure out what road they're on right now. He's driving obviously erratically, high rates of speed, cutting through stop signs, running stoplights. Okay, we are approaching the Southwest Freeway right now is the information that the pilot's telling me. Our pilot's trying to relay to me the streets that he is taking because he's twisting and turning so often. There's a large canopy of trees through this area as well.
And it looks like he's going to get on the Southwest
West
Freeway.
Park.
That's what I think he's getting on right now, as a matter of fact, the feeder road there on either the West Park Tollway or as it approaches the Southwest Freeway. Westbound,
okay, that's correct. Now he's gone under the Southwest Freeway here.
Right, you'll catch him right there.
Continuing on the service road. No, he's not. He's now on West Park. And he is headed toward Edlow, Wesleyan area, Newcastle, coming up on Newcastle, I believe.
So he's
okay, no, I'm sorry. We're still a ways from that. Okay, we are coming up on Hillcroft. I think he just crossed Hillcroft.
Going very fast in opposite lanes of traffic, and we can also see in that center turning lane, this person really going anywhere they need to go to get around the traffic and not slowing down, even through intersections, and near misses right there through that intersection as well.
And from this vantage point, Dave, we don't see any police cruisers near him at all. He appears to have eluded at least most of those cruisers that were behind him. And there's a wide shot now as you see him going down West Park. I'm thinking this is westbound, David. It sounded almost as if you thought he was coming into town, but it appears to me he's going outbound on West Park, right?
I believe he is headed outbound. So we are coming up on Fondren right now.
Okay, that would be westbound.
I pulled the camera out, showed you a wide shot there. There were no police within range of the camera that we can see that are trying to catch up to him. You saw him go through that light, almost hit a couple of cars, had several near misses.
Yeah, and this is an area that can really start getting backed up. There's only a couple of opportunities to get onto the West Park Tollway, though I believe that this driver is coming up onto one of those opportunities pretty soon. But besides that West Park Tollway, there's really no other ways to get through this area besides Westheimer, which is usually extremely busy at this time of day. As you can see, pretty wide open in most of this area. But we're seeing some pretty high speeds, and again, that driver spending a lot of his or her time in the opposite bound lane of traffic there.
Right. And as we know in these chases, HPD often uses our helicopter signal to track these chases when their officers can't get close to the vehicles. They may be doing that right now, so we'll try and give some locators. As you said, Dave, outbound on West Park, it appeared as though we went past Gessner already, if my memory serves me, that cross street, and he's headed out of town very fast.
He is headed out of town very fast. I'm not certain that he's crossed Gessner just yet, but he's certainly approaching it.
I think we've got a little
He is driving in the turn lane the majority of the time here.
And it seems to be pretty open most of this way. This driver hasn't really gotten in a total stopped area yet. So, and as you can see, it starts to open up. And as you get closer to Gessner, you'll see usually a little bit of traffic right after this turn.
Okay, we're coming up on Gessner right now. There is an officer coming into view. All
right, now we see him. Right there behind, you see the HPD cruiser closing in on him, so at least they know his whereabouts, and they're tracking him closely behind now.
Caught up to him.
Okay, now he's going to hit traffic right here.
Yep, and here he's going to get off.
He's going to come up over the curb into the parking lot. He's going to cut across and probably head. Okay, he's continuing on West Park westbound. He's going to head towards the Beltway now. Still trying to get some more information on what precipitated this chase here, whether or not, as you had said earlier, or asked rather, whether or not this was a traffic stop, if possibly this is a stolen vehicle. We don't know that yet.
It's also hard to tell if any of those tires are blown, and if they are, that vehicle's making its way along pretty well without them.
I was assuming we would see sparks if one of the tires was blown, but he is still going at a high rate of speed. As Dave Garrett told you, this started about 20 minutes ago or so, right, Dave? In the area of Chimney Rock, and he just sideswiped a car there. In the area of Chimney Rock and that Glenmont area, and it wound around some inner city streets before he headed out to the Southwest Freeway and then turned out on West Park westbound, and that's what we're watching live right now. This police chase going out of town westbound on West Park, and Dave Garrett's still above it in Sky.
And we just heard this actually did start as a traffic stop, and apparently in the Dunlap area. Not sure why this person started to run, but again, we're going to start to get really close to the Beltway here, and I believe, Dave, that's why we're seeing some traffic.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, he's coming into a lot of traffic here.
Not getting on the Beltway
now. He's crossing over the Beltway right now. We'll see what direction he goes. He's going to cut through this light.
I just
near miss right there.
Yep.
There's one more opportunity to get on that southbound Beltway, but it looks like that driver's not going to take it.
No, he's going to continue on West Park here.
And I would assume
to get an idea of what he's looking at. As he continues forward here, there's not a whole lot of traffic. The further west you go, the less traffic you're going to run into.
Yeah, and what's going to happen is pretty soon those two lanes turn into one lane, so they bottleneck down. But a lot of times this time of day, there's no traffic in this area. So that driver may be able to continue on, though that one lane of traffic certainly slows down. The speed limit's 30 or 35 miles an hour. It's got a different vantage point here as well.
About 12 minutes after 4, you would think there'd be more traffic during this early afternoon commute, but he appears to be going through pretty light traffic so far, which may be giving him the advantage. But he's coming up to an intersection now where, as Alona said, it starts to get busy and narrows down to one lane, and he gets caught in traffic, and maybe they can catch him from behind. HPD is obviously wired ahead and called ahead and had units up ahead waiting for him, we think. Just an assumption, but that's generally what happens in these chases.
Looks like an officer right behind him as well, so they've managed to stay right there on his tail. Just looks like carefully following behind without trying to cause any more confrontation or aggression than is necessary, and able to get around the cars. It's interesting. It looks like some of those other vehicles have managed to really slow down and get out of the way, and we're getting pretty close to that spot where this is going to turn, I believe, already into one lane.
I think you're right. I think we're getting really close to that spot if we haven't already. Yep, it's down to one lane now, as you see. And he is all by himself.
Moving into a largely residential area now. The concern that I'm starting to have is school zones that are going to come up.
Yeah, especially as we get a little further along, going through those residential neighborhoods there. There's a lot of different gated neighborhoods in that area, and really not a whole lot of pedestrian traffic right there. But again, this really does say one lane for the next few blocks, and then eventually we'll come out onto Derry Ashford. But boy, with a couple of other vehicles there, it doesn't take a whole lot to crowd that
No.
two-lane road.
And he's had a lot of narrow misses as he swerves into the opposite lanes to avoid the oncoming traffic. He's not doing that much now on this two-lane road, but he certainly was as we watched him go down.
But not much more. Old Westheimer is our next intersection.
It almost appears, it's very difficult to see, but it almost appears as if his hand is up, as if he may be on a cell phone or something. It's kind of difficult to see, but
right.
It appears that might be what's going on. But certainly law enforcement is staying on top of this. Another close one as we come to this intersection. Certainly you worry every time we come to one of these intersections in terms of what could potentially happen.
Right. It also looks like a left on Old Westheimer, if I'm not mistaken, which...
He is now southbound headed back towards what is going to ultimately be what the West Park Toll Road.
And he's talking
I don't know if there's access to the toll road. I believe there is access to the toll road
actually on that specific place only to go eastbound. I don't think there's any westbound access, but this person's going to have to turn pretty quickly.
And he's talking while he's driving, it appears, on the cell phone. He's got a cell phone to his ear, and he's driving with one hand as he avoids the traffic and police officers so far. Again, if you're just joining us, about 25 minutes old now is this police chase we're following out of Houston this morning. As Alona said, it's now southbound in Old Gessner, and he has avoided some really, really close calls there with traffic, crashing into one person, sideswiping one car way back at Gessner in the West Park.
I can't tell, Dave, if those are mini tires or if there's a tire problem and they're blown, but I think what we're looking at are just really small tires on that truck.
Okay, I can tell you now the front right tire is blown. He's on the rim right there.
Oh, he's got a blown tire now.
We may see an end to this chase soon here.
He's got a blown tire on the right front. You can see that right there.
That's correct.
Whether it was because of spike strips laid down by police, we're not sure, but he's going to have to pull over and slow down here. Or at least slow down because of that blown right front tire.
Yeah, certainly in a residential area now, Dave, there is only one way to get onto that tollway, and that driver did not take it. So we're sort of weaving in and out of this smaller residential area.
Okay, he's approaching High Star. He's going to cross through the light here.
All right, now
he's turning south now, I believe.
This has gotten pretty slow at this point.
Well, that seemed inevitable.
Well, with only three good tires,
right.
You know, he's going to risk losing control of the vehicle if he travels at a high rate of speed, and he probably knows that at this point.
And we're now
surprised that we're not seeing a lot of sparks.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised at, Dave, too. And again, you see two people in the truck. We know two people at least in this, well, it may be a Ford Explorer, an old one, or, as you mentioned earlier, a Chevy Blazer. I think it's some kind of Ford. But in any case, it's been going on for about 25 minutes now. It's southbound on Cook Road, so he's back to the residential streets, right past an HPD cruiser, and almost runs into that truck as he crosses the intersection there. And we'll get a locator
for you. He did several narrow misses here. You got to...
We've lost your signal. We're back there, Dave.
Of course, in these situations, officers don't know if these drivers or passengers are armed, and they certainly aren't going to put themselves in harm's way or other drivers in harm's way by trying to create a confrontation. They want to really keep this as cool as possible. We are now at certainly much lower speeds than we saw earlier. This driver now stuck behind a heavy truck there, so they're just going to slowly follow behind, and that heavy truck now getting out of the way.
And there's an ambulance is going past and around. And again, this is in southwest Houston, far southwest Houston. Maybe we should call it West Houston. And you see all the police cruisers now behind him. As most of you know, there is a police chase policy in the city of Houston. There is a limit on the number of police cruisers that can get behind a chase. And a supervisor has to clear them if they want to bring in more units to stop a fleeing driver. And so far we see, I've counted 5 units behind this driver. Again, this is in far southwest Houston, or as I said, maybe we should call it West Houston.
Yeah.
It's way out there, almost.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, almost out to the Derry-Ashford Highway 6 area. This is just turning off of a street named Sharpview. And again, we're in a very residential area here. And this is the kind of place as well, Dave, you mentioned it earlier, we start to worry about children getting out of school and being out walking around on the roads.
Yes, a lot of pedestrian risk coming through these neighborhoods here. I haven't seen him run through too many school zones to the best of my knowledge. Of course, I've been paying attention to the chase itself, but I've been looking out the window as I try to maintain this shot to see if there are any schools that he was coming upon here. Right now, he is in a completely residential area in a neighborhood here, more in West Houston, as we've been saying, but southwest Houston. He's trying to make his way back over to a main road, it looks like, as he continues eastbound. He's coming up on the main road here. I believe this is Derry Ashford. He's turning south on. I'm not certain, though.
Okay. So if that's the case, he is not quite yet out to Highway 6, but it appears he's going southbound down what Dave thought was Derry Ashford.
Actually, yeah, I think we're going to Kirkwood now.
Kirkwood, okay.
So we're a little bit further to the east of that.
Yeah, Kirkwood is one street to the east, I believe, of Derry Ashford. He's continuing southbound here and will, I believe, come up on West Belford at some point.
All right, and so far, not much traffic along that stretch of road either, which allows him to continue fleeing police at relatively low speeds now compared to what we saw earlier. He was really going along some of the inner city streets. I would have guessed at 80 to 90 miles an hour. It appears as though he slowed down, but as we showed you before, he's got a blown right front tire driving on the rims there into traffic. He just hit a car there, as you see, smashed into the back of that PT Cruiser and took off across the intersection on South Kirkwood. West Houston is where Dave Garrett is live over.
Yeah, again, if you're just joining us, this is happening in West Houston in the Kirkwood area. This what began as a traffic stop on Dunlap has turned into a chase we've been watching for almost 20 minutes now. And this driver doing and approaching some high speeds, also slowing down in some areas and weaving through residential and on some larger streets as well.
Something either fell off the truck or he threw something out the window, but in any case, a piece of metal.
I think that was his rear view mirror.
Oh, it was
I'm not
rear view
certain,
mirror,
though,
okay.
but he smashed into the back of that vehicle pretty good.
Okay.
There's a lot of front-end damage now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to have an officer stop and check the passengers of the vehicle that he just hit to make sure that they're okay. But he's continuing on.
And continuing to talk on his cell phone. He's still on that cell phone.
Continuing to talk on his cell phone. It makes you wonder who he may be talking to, if he's possibly calling someone for, you know, so that he can go and hide out, possibly.
Or calling someone who's also watching the television coverage and wondering where he's about to head next here. He's going to get...
That's an excellent point.
And amazing that a lot of this driving is happening with just one hand on the wheel.
Yeah, still on that cell phone, but he's turned into a parking lot now, and hopefully he's trapped himself in there if police can catch up to him in this parking lot just off of South Kirkwood. He's made it out of there onto another street, and it appears as though he's going to continue on because he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 police cruisers in close pursuit, 5, I see right now. And I'm not sure what street he's coming up on, Dave, as he got out of that parking lot, managed to get out. He's got a police cruiser, though, ahead of him. Watch this now. This may be the end of the chase because this cruiser's going to try and stay ahead of him and block his exit.
Yeah, the cruiser's going to try to stay in front of him. They're going to do what they can to box him in. We are, I believe, northbound.
Eastbound.
On Bissonnet.
We are eastbound.
Yeah, we're headed back into town now on Bissonnet. And there's the sparks because the right front rim is hitting the pavement. He just managed to elude the cruiser, took a right.
Steering capabilities on this car are going to be way off. We see a cruiser getting a little more aggressive there.
Now into an apartment complex parking lot. And this may be...
And they're going to try to lose these officers on foot in this apartment complex.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think they're going to stop and try and get out of here and take off. And he may be coming to the end of his escape routes here. We'll see. You see the police helicopter...
You're going to see once they get out of the vehicle, more than likely they're going to go in 2 different directions, and we're going to probably stick with the driver of the vehicle. Depending on how well they go.
One takes off.
Okay, and
they're
giving themselves up.
Now you'll have a police officer in hot pursuit on foot, but I don't think he's going to get very far.
That driver didn't even try to run, got out of the car and put his hands up immediately.
Do you see him?
Yep, we're watching
apparently the second one's running. Okay, we have him right here.
Oh, you've got him in your shot?
We don't have him in the shot. The officers are trying to find him.
They have not caught these guys because they're looking.
And here's the challenge, too, when you pull into an apartment complex like this with a number of people here.
Right.
And law enforcement is trying to figure out who was in the vehicle.
Which was the passenger. The driver got out, gave himself up. The passenger has fled into one of these apartments here, it looks like.
And, you know, you never know when a driver's on the phone like that, Dave, and even though it looked very random to us the way somebody was driving around the city and sort of going in circles and making U-turns, when they end up at an apartment complex, there's always that possibility that they were talking to somebody there and know somebody at the complex and actually meant to end up there. But again, it's very difficult to tell in situations like this when we see so much backtracking and what seems to us to be random driving.
And there's the second man. That is the passenger who ran away in that striped shirt, and they've got him in handcuffs as well. As I said, he didn't get very far this afternoon with Houston police officers are running as fast as they could to catch up with him. And hopefully, as you said, they got some help from the residents of that apartment complex in apprehending him.
Patting that suspect down. Again, if you're just joining us, this started as a traffic stop in the Dunlap area, now in far west Houston, where we saw a high-speed and a low-speed chase. A lot of officers there following as two suspects took off and led police all over the west part of the city. Those the driver finally stopped. The passenger tried to run but was just apprehended. We're watching them be arrested right now. That was the passenger. That driver got right out of the car and put his hands up in the air, did not try to run from police.
All right, 35 minutes is how long this chase lasted this afternoon, and it ended, as we said, in far west Houston, Bissonnette near Kirkwood this afternoon, and that, as you see, is how it ended. And police got their men, and we'll be back with much more coming up after this on the News at 4.
The latest developments on a police chase we brought you live on Eyewitness News at 4. Police say it started when a driver didn't pull over during a traffic stop and ended with a couple of teenagers simply driving back to their home. Now, as a result, they are facing a number of felony charges. During that 20-minute-plus chase, police say the driver was involved in a number of crashes. We captured some of them from Sky HD. At one point, the driver traveled only on 3 tires and one of his rims. That left a trail of sparks for police as they pursued. Just after 4:20, the driver and passenger went home, driving to their apartment complex. The driver surrendered immediately. His companion was found moments later. That complex is located on Bissonnette and Court Glen, which is in southwest Houston, just 7 miles from where the chase began on Dunlap near Bel Air Boulevard. What the driver did between those points is why he is facing charges. Eyewitness News reporter Christine Dobbin talked with eyewitnesses and is live tonight. Christine?
Gina, it started with a traffic stop, but then led to a chase that lasted almost 30 minutes with a lot of close calls and innocent victims along the way. Police say they tried to pull the Blazer over when the driver sped down residential streets and then onto West Park Drive, disregarding stoplights and obstacles in the way.
We saw a lot of choppers and a lot of police cars coming, and we didn't know what was going on, and then all of a sudden a car just smacked us from the back.
Leo Gomez Jr. was in this PT Cruiser with his mother and 6-year-old little brother in the back seat.
As soon as it hit us, the first thing I did was I was trying to make sure if he was okay, and it felt pretty bad.
Nicole Vaughn was also hit.
Impact, my head hit the dashboard, and right now I'm waiting to be seen by the ambulance.
But it did not stop the driver of this blue Blazer. He kept going, tearing a bumper off this black car, crossing over the Beltway. It looked as if it might be his lucky day, avoiding several close calls. But his luck ran out. The tires began falling off. Sparks flew from the pavement.
We seen the car flying by off the rim and no tire on it, and all the children running to get out the way that was getting off the school bus. We was very scared.
It all ended here at Catalina Apartments when the teen driver jumped out with his hands up. The other teen ran into a nearby apartment but did not get far.
I mean, he brought them right home.
Again, those teens arrested at the doorsteps of their home here on the southwest side. They could face charges from felony evading to hit and run. Reporting live from the southwest side, Christine Dobbin, 13 Eyewitness News.
2 men are behind bars after they led Houston police on a chase through the southwest side. Now, we brought you this story as breaking news earlier today. The pursuit started in the 6600 block of Dunlap. It ended on Bissonnette and Court Glen. The chase began when a traffic patrol officer tried to pull over the suspects. Now, at several points during the chase, the driver was on a phone. The suspects drove through very busy intersections, ramming vehicles in their way. An 18-wheeler almost pancaked them, and after all of that, they lost their front tire.
The truck passed by speeding at a high rate, and we didn't know what to do. We was just trying to get out the way, and the tire was on flat, and the rims were showing and all that. We was just nervous.
Yeah, and they kept on going. Well, the men eventually pulled into the Catalina Apartments on Bissonnette and Court Glen. One did try to run away. Didn't work, though. Officers caught both, and we're told the driver could face felony evading charges. Now, through all of that, no one's hurt.